Chapter 91, Jealousy, Xuantian Treasure Cave opens. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Feng Yusheng naturally also noticed Xiahou Aoshua's warning look. She didn't want to make enemies with the crown prince of Xiahou Xian dynasty, but somehow, she felt stubborn and moved closer to Li Guanhai. Xiahou Aoshua narrowed her eyes slightly. Although she didn't show any emotion on the surface, she had already had murderous intentions in her heart. Facing the jealousy of the two women, Li Guanhai couldn't help but feel a headache, but he didn't care. Jealousy is fine, as long as there is no big fight. Li Ningshuang, who was standing aside, saw Li Guanhai's headache and felt it was novel and interesting. She quietly came over and winked at him. Li Guanhai glanced at her. Isn't it chaotic enough? Why are you joining in the fun? At this moment, more than a dozen divine rainbows swept over and landed on the flying Shenzhou. The leader was a young man with wide sleeves, fair skin, sharp and beautiful eyes, cold as water, and a dignified and indifferent look, but also a little feminine. His appearance was also impeccable, but unlike other men, he was not as sharp, but slightly softer. What a handsome young man, rare in the world. And his aura was also extremely terrifying, and his every move seemed to be in harmony with the way of heaven, and seemed extremely natural. The young man bowed and saluted, his voice slightly feminine. Zhou Jishu from Lingxiao City, meet the young master Guanhai. Li Guanhai glanced at him, smiled and returned the greeting. So you are Mr. Zhou from Lingxiao City, I have heard of you for a long time. Lingxiao City is also one of the top Taoist sects in the upper world. It has been passed down for countless years and has an unfathomable foundation. It is rumored that there is a great Xuantian in charge. What is the concept of Xuantian? Xuantian is an existence that overlooks all living beings and truly stands at the top of the upper world. Any red tape and rules in the world are nothing but illusions and meaningless in the eyes of the great Xuantian. When reaching that realm, one can destroy a realm in a snap of a finger, and kill hundreds of millions of cultivators with a breath, which is extremely terrifying. And Zhou Jishu is the most outstanding contemporary genius of Lingxiao City, and also the beloved son of the lord of Lingxiao City. It is rumored that the lord of the city has an eldest son. Before Zhou Jishu was born, the eldest son was the most dazzling star of Lingxiao City and also the young master, but since Zhou Jishu was born, the lord of the city did not hesitate and resolutely abolished the eldest son, and tried his best to support Zhou Jishu to ascend to the position of the young master. Over the years, Zhou Jishu has created countless miracles, and proved that the lord of the city's choice is correct with his terrifying talent. Zhou Jishu chatted with Li Guanhai, and glanced at Xiahou Aoshua calmly, and a flash of fear flashed in his eyes. Yunwei Division and Xiahou Xianchao are both top forces in the upper world. If the two join forces, the situation will be bad. Zhou Jishu suddenly asked, is there any treasure in this Xuantian treasure cave that Master Guanhai needs? Yes. Li Guanhai smiled and nodded, not hiding anything. Then I wish Master Guanhai good luck. Goodbye. Zhou Jishu bowed and turned away with a group of Lingxiao City masters. Li Guanhai looked at his back, his eyes flickering, as if thinking about something. This Zhou Jishu is a bit interesting. Another day passed in a blink of an eye. With a loud bang, the entire no-return realm was shaken, and the huge door in the void finally opened slowly. The extremely bright golden light shone through the crack in the door, and runes emerged, as if there were tens of millions of golden fireflies flying. Through the crack in the door, you can see pieces of ancient continents floating in it, and the continents are shining with colorful divine light, all of which are strange phenomena emitted by natural treasures. All the cultivators' eyes were red, and at this moment they had only one thought in their minds, which was to rush in and plunder. In the crowd, Xiahou Jie also clenched his fists excitedly, looking forward to it. In front, Yang Chana was even more eager to fight, her big eyes flashing, and she couldn't help showing a cute and silly smile on her face, as if she had already put those treasures in her pocket. Seeing her like this, Lu Xianjing on the side couldn't help but feel helpless. This little girl usually looks cold and aloof, but in fact she is simple and innocent, and she is greedy for money. She is an absolute little money grubber. On the flying Shenzhou, Li Guanhai looked at the giant door that was slowly opening, and a red light flashed in his eyes. He said, this giant door is a teleportation array. After entering the Xuantian treasure cave, we will be randomly teleported to a certain location. Li Ningxuang said, Master, don't worry, we will meet you as soon as we enter the Xuantian treasure cave. Feng Yusheng also nodded to Li Guanhai. Li Guanhai looked at Xiahou Aoshue, you don't need to come looking for me, just concentrate on searching for treasures and opportunities. Are you sure? Don't worry, when have I ever failed? Li Guanhai smiled and stretched out his hand to scratch her upturned nose. 2 hours later, the giant gate was finally completely opened, and the Xuantian treasure cave stabilized. Go! The mountains in the southwest of the no-return realm suddenly boiled, and millions of auras rushed straight into the sky, and the shouts shook the sky. Countless cultivators rushed to the Xuantian treasure cave like locusts passing through. At this moment, everyone went crazy, no longer caring about their status, and all rushed in. Li Guanhai stood with his hands behind his back, leading everyone to rush towards the Xuantian treasure cave. On the way, he turned his head and glanced behind him, and saw a handsome young man running in the crowd. It was Xiahou Jie. Treasure hunting rat, please don't let me down. Li Guanhai sneered and sped up to the Xuantian treasure cave. After passing through the giant gate, the scenery in front of him suddenly changed with a dizzy spin. Li Guanhai looked around and found that he was on a continent. The world in the Xuantian treasure cave was very wonderful, with no top in the sky and no bottom in the earth, and it was endless. Hundreds of continents were floating in the clouds, piled with all kinds of rare treasures, and countless monks were scrambling to grab them. Shouts and curses were heard one after another, and it was a mess. There were also many monks on the continent where Li Guanhai landed. Their eyes were red and they were scrambling for treasures like crazy. Suddenly, he raised his eyebrows and saw a familiar figure, Yang Chana. This silly girl was also sweeping the treasures on the continent, with 2 big eyes shining and a silly smile on her face. Yang Chana felt something in her heart, looked up, and happened to meet Li Guanhai's eyes. The silly smile on her face suddenly disappeared, her cheeks puffed up, and she waved her fist at Li Guanhai with an angry look. Suddenly, she thought of something, and hurriedly hid the Xuanhuan bag behind her, staring at Li Guanhai with big eyes, fearing that he would steal her things again. Her Emperor Luohua and soul-capturing orb were both taken away by Li Guanhai. Although they were returned to her in the end, she still had a psychological shadow. Li Guanhai smiled slightly, turned around and turned into a divine rainbow and left. Yang Chana breathed a sigh of relief, but inexplicably felt a little lost. Why did he leave without saying a word? Then she threw these emotions behind her and continued to search for treasures. On the other side, Xiahou Jie also entered the Xuantian treasure cave, looking at the continent like a cornucopia. His eyes were also extremely hot, and he collected a lot of useful treasures. Boy, don't be greedy for these things. Your real opportunity is not here. An old voice sounded in his ears, awakening Xiahou Jie from his obsession. He couldn't help but feel ashamed for his greed for petty gains. I know my mistake, Master. Which continent is the opportunity you mentioned? Not on the continent. Not on the continent. Then where is it? The old voice laughed and said, under your feet. Under your feet. Xiahou Jie looked down, and there were nothing but clouds below. He didn't know how deep it was, let alone where it led to. Don't underestimate these clouds. With your current cultivation, once you are contaminated, you will be shattered to pieces immediately. Hearing this, Xiahou Jie couldn't help swallowing his saliva. These clouds that look light and soft are so scary. Hold your breath and concentrate. I will use my magic to send you down. Yes, Master. Xiahou Jie operated the mysterious skills, and his consciousness gradually fell into chaos and entered a state of selflessness. A ball of white light enveloped him, and he fell rapidly, rushing into the clouds below like a meteor. Chapter 92, Chaos Space, Godly Tree of Creation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the other side, Li Guanhai looked at the compass in his hand, lowered his head to look at the bottomless clouds below, and smiled faintly. So it's below. Beside him, Feng Yusheng and Li Ningxuang stood in the air. Li Ningxuang asked, Master, is the thing you are looking for below? No doubt. Li Guanhai put away the compass, turned into a divine rainbow and swooped down. Feng Yusheng and Li Ningxuang followed closely beside him, like the left and right guardians. Thousands of miles away, a handsome and feminine man reflected the scene of Li Guanhai rushing into the sea of clouds in his eyes. this person is the young city lord of Lingxiao City, Zhou Jishu. The magical power he used is called Thousand Miles Eyes. Although it is called Thousand Miles Eyes, it can see what is happening thousands or even tens of thousands of miles away. This is related to the level of cultivation of the caster. Zhou Jishu put away his magical power, looked at the sea of clouds below, frowned and said to himself, "What is there below?" He hesitated for a while, and finally gritted his teeth and plunged into the sea of clouds. With the help of his master, Xiahou Jie teleported for countless miles and finally broke through the deadly sea of clouds and came to a new world. This place is almost the same as the world above the sea of clouds. It is also boundless and has no end. The only difference is that there is no floating continent here. It seems empty and a little desolate, and in the center of that world, there is a dark hole. This hole seems to be one-sided and three-dimensional. Xiahou Jie wanted to see it clearly, and suddenly he heard the cautious voice of his master, "Don't stare at it." He was shocked. Although he didn't understand, he looked away for the first time and asked, "Master, why is this?" "This black hole is extremely strong. Even light approaching it will be swallowed. Any gaze or divine thought will disappear once it touches it. If you had stared at it for a while, it would have been reduced to ashes now." Hearing this, Xiahou Jie felt like he had brushed shoulders with the god of death, and his heart was trembling with fear. He looked around and asked anxiously, "Master, where is my chance?" "It's in the black hole." "Ah, this!" Xiahou Jie exclaimed, with an unbelievable look on his face, and asked, "Master, didn't you say that the black hole is extremely dangerous and anything close to it will turn into nothingness?" "Indeed, but your chance is indeed in it." "But how can I get in?" "Don't worry about this, Master will help you." Hearing this, Xiahou Jie was relieved and couldn't wait to say, "Master, then you can send your disciple in quickly." "Hee, you little brat, you are still so impatient." The soul in the ring laughed and cursed, and a ball of white light wrapped Xiahou Jie again, and then quickly shrank into a particle that was difficult to detect with the naked eye, flew into the black hole in the center of the world, and disappeared. Not long after, 3 divine rainbows rushed out of the sea of clouds, and they were Li Guanhai and the other 2. Li Guanhai's sight fell on the black hole at the first time, and he already had the answer in his heart. It seems that what he is looking for is in this black hole. Li Guanhai said calmly, "This black hole is dangerous and unpredictable. I will go in alone. You don't need to follow me." "No, it is because of the danger that Ningxuan cannot let the master go in alone." Li Ningxuan refused immediately. According to the master-servant relationship, her behavior has already exceeded the limit. Feng Yusheng also nodded in agreement. "Yes, Master Guanhai, you should let us follow, so that we can take care of it." Li Guanhai smiled and shook his head and said, "Don't worry, I have a magic weapon that can protect me. Nothing will happen." But Li Ningxuan wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Li Guanhai's hand. "I have made up my mind. You stay here to meet me." After that, the Pisces pendant on his waist flashed blue light, wrapped his body, and sent him into the black hole. After Xiahou Jie, who turned into particles, entered the black hole, he passed through a passage made of light and shadow, which was colorful, beautiful and terrifying, mysterious and gorgeous. This passage seems to have no end. Being alone in this place where even time is forgotten, one has to bear great psychological pressure and endure loneliness and solitude. Just when Xiahou Jie was about to collapse, his eyes suddenly opened up, the white light dissipated, and he returned to his original appearance. Looking around, Xiahou Jie was completely shocked by this space. This is a chaotic space. This is a space beyond the way of heaven. There is no living creature, and no living creature can survive here. Here, time is stopped, or it can be said that there is no time, and in the center of the chaotic space, there stands a tree, an ordinary, not tall ancient tree. This ancient tree originated from Hongmeng and took root in chaos. I don't know how long it has been here. Although the ancient tree looks ordinary, Xiahou Jie can feel the endless breath of life and aura, which fills the entire chaotic space. Smelling it is better than practicing for 365 days, and under this ancient tree, a man is leaning against the tree and dozing off. Xiahou Jie immediately became alert, wondering how could there be someone here. Could it be that someone arrived here before him? At this time, the ring flashed with light and an old and excited voice sounded, "This is the God Tree of Creation. Boy, hurry up, take this tree, this is a great opportunity." Xiahou said, "Master, there is a person sleeping under the tree, do you want to get rid of him first?" "Don't worry about him, he's already dead, do it quickly." The old man's voice trembled with excitement, and he could no longer maintain his usual composure. "Yes, master." Xiahou was overjoyed, and just as he was about to collect the tree of creation, a chuckle sounded from behind him, "So this is the sacred tree of creation." Xiahou's color changed in shock, and he suddenly turned around. The first thing that caught his eye was a pair of cold, arrogant and clear eyes, calm and distant, like the deep and boundless sea. This is a young man wearing mysterious clothes, handsome as a god, with a clear spirit and cold pride between his brows. Xiahou's pupils shrank, his expression became very ugly, and he said with difficulty, "Li Guanhai." Yes, the person who came was none other than Li Guanhai. He glanced at Xiahou, who was facing a formidable enemy, and looked past him, landing on the fortune tree in the distance and the sleeping man under the tree. "Boy, grab it. If you don't grab it, you're dead." The old man's voice rang in his ears. Xiahou gritted his teeth and used his magical power of flying with all his strength, turning into a streak of lightning and flying towards the divine tree of creation. Just after flying thousands of miles away, the space in front suddenly fluctuated. Li Guanhai appeared out of thin air and pushed out with an understatement, "This palm seems light and weak, but in fact it is extremely terrifying. It contains the power of law, and even the eternal chaotic space is rippled by it." "How is that possible?" Xiahou was shocked and angry. He didn't expect Li Guanhai to be so fast. Facing the palm that was pushed towards him, Xiahou did not dare to be careless at all, and directly sacrificed a quasi-imperial weapon. This is an ancient mirror, modeled and with magical symbols emerging. The power that was enough to compete with the powerful quasi-emperor exploded, and the palm that was pushed towards Li Guanhai was blasted. The two energies collided, and a dragon roar sounded. The power of the ancient mirror only resisted for a moment before it was torn apart by Li Guanhai's majestic magic power. Puff! Xiahou spurted blood from his mouth and was thrown away. He did somersaults in midair. The ribbon holding his hair was broken and his hair was disheveled. He was in a very embarrassed state, and there was a crack on that ancient mirror, and its aura was rapidly losing. This quasi-imperial weapon is considered useless. Chapter 93, The Body of Nothingness, Serve Me as the Master. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiahou was horrified and unbelievable. This ancient mirror is a quasi-emperor weapon, a magic weapon that can compete with quasi-emperors, but it can't even take a palm from Li Guanhai. How is this possible? He is clearly only at the peak of the Xuanhuan realm, but he can actually exert the strength of the quasi-emperor realm. Is he hiding his cultivation? Yes, it must be like this. Xiahou figured it out, and his mood became even heavier. Li Guanhai is too strong, stronger than you can imagine. It is rumored that he was invaded by Yin Qi and Mingshan Jumai, which injured his origin and was difficult to heal. Is the rumor wrong? Or did this young master Guanhai do it deliberately? Although he does look a little sick and weak on the surface, the strength he showed is ridiculously strong, and his magic power is also extremely strong. Where is the slightest bit of vein? Thinking of this, Xiahou is almost certain that Li Guanhai is pretending to be injured, and he has other purposes. Li Guanhai looked at him indifferently, and suddenly smiled. Don't think about it. When you get to the underworld, there will be plenty of time for you to think about it. After the words fell, the slender and beautiful hand grabbed in the void, a giant palm of magic power condensed, covering the sky and the earth, and slapped down on his head. Xiahou wanted to use his magical powers to escape, but was shocked to find that his body was out of control. This space had been imprisoned and he couldn't escape at all. The old man in the ring said anxiously, "It's actually the realm of laws. What a terrifying talent. Boy, use your innate magical powers quickly, otherwise you will die." Xiahou had planned this a long time ago. With a thought, his figure instantly merged into the void and disappeared. The giant palm of magic power slapped nothing. Li Guanhai raised his eyebrows, quite surprised, but then relieved. After all, he is the son of luck, and it is normal to have some life-saving magical powers that defy the sky. This magical power of incarnating into nothingness and merging into the void is quite interesting. Looking at the 3,000 Tao realms and the upper realm, there has never been any such magical power heard of, but it has been recorded in ancient books. It is rumored that there is a divine body called the body of nothingness. This divine body is not good at attacking, but is very good at defending. When fighting against others, it can merge into the void, making the enemy unpredictable. It is a life-saving and heaven-defying divine body, which can be called an indestructible cockroach, or it is more appropriate to describe it as an indestructible cockroach. Looking at countless epochs, the body of nothingness has only appeared a few times, but the owner of each time is the most troublesome existence for all the major Tao sections. Because the body of nothingness is really able to hide, how can it be beaten if it cannot be touched? The first appearance of the body of nothingness was during the final holy war. At that time, an ancient god of the human race was the body of nothingness. With this divine body, he escaped from the siege of the demons countless times and was respected by the world as the ancient god of nothingness. It seems that this Xiahou is probably a body of nothingness. Heh, interesting. Li Guanhai sneered, with red light flashing in his eyes, and suddenly looked at a void. Xiahou suddenly tensed up, afraid of leaking a breath, and even dared not breathe, nervous to the extreme. Can he see me? Impossible. However, the next moment, a white light cut through the void and slashed towards him silently. Xiahou's face changed drastically, but he still did not leak his breath, nor did he dodge, because once the body of nothingness merged into the void, it could avoid all attacks. No, hide, that the old man in the ring screamed loudly, but was still a step slower, accompanied by the sound of a whistle. An ancient and ordinary short sword pierced Xiahou's chest. Xiahou spit out a mouthful of blood, fell out of the void, and his figure reappeared. At that moment, he also sensed the danger, but the speed of the dagger was too fast, and he had no time to dodge. Cough cough cough. Xiahou coughed up blood and finally felt fear for Li Guanhai. This man was too scary. Was he a monster? The body of nothingness was his biggest trump card, and he had survived countless desperate situations with this divine body. However, today, Li Guanhai gave him a blow, breaking his body of nothingness with just an ordinary dagger. This made Xiahou doubt what his master said, and his master said that the body of nothingness was one of the strongest divine bodies in the world. And now, the body of nothingness was easily broken by Li Guanhai. Why? Xiahou couldn't figure it out. Now his Tao heart was extremely unstable, and he had almost lost the will to fight and became a little depressed. At this time, the system prompt sounded in Li Guanhai's ears. Ding. Successfully strike Xiahou's Tao heart, reach the killing standard, and kill him to get the heavenly Tao treasure box. Li Guanhai raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect that Xiahou was such a fragile heart. He was a son of luck. All sons of luck, which one is not tenacious and can carve gold and stone? To be honest, the performance of this son of luck made him very disappointed, but it doesn't matter. Whether he is strong or weak, the final outcome is the same. There are more important things to do next, and Li Guanhai is too lazy to waste time. He directly used the law field to suppress the desperate and helpless Xiahou, and then drove the breeze through his eyebrows. In this way, Xiahou, who was burdened with family hatred and national hatred, died in hatred. At the moment of death, his spirit was still in a trance, with unwillingness, helplessness, sadness, and hatred. Ding. Successfully killed Xiahou, the son of luck, plundered 8,000 points of luck, and obtained 32,000 points. Ding. Plunder 8,000 points of luck and increase lifespan by 320 days. Ding. Successfully killed the son of luck Xiahou, and obtained the heavenly treasure box *1. Ding. Obtained the golden finger, the body of nothingness. Li Guanhai smiled slightly, hooked his finger, and sucked Xiahou's Qianquan bag in the ring on his hand into his palm. Senior, why don't you show up? After the words fell, a shadow of an old man floated out of the ring, with white hair and immortal spirit, but at this moment, he looked extremely weak, and his expression was also extremely sad, obviously very sad about Xiahou's death. Young people are formidable. He simply spit out 4 words, which were his heartfelt words. Senior, thank you for your praise. Li Guanhai was humble and polite, not arrogant or impatient, and meticulous in etiquette. Are you going to wipe me out? If so, just do it. I have only one request, give me a quick death. The shadow of the old man stood with his hands behind his back, his expression was determined, and he looked like he was ready to die. What are you talking about, senior? How could I attack you? Li Guanhai smiled harmlessly, and then added, of course, if you want to die, I will help you. If you don't want to die, just agree to one condition of mine. This is a hypocritical and high-sounding statement, it means that if you want to die, I won't stop you. If you don't want to die, then just listen to me. The old man was delighted. He thought he couldn't escape today. He was going to die anyway, so he should die generously and not lose his integrity and dignity. I didn't expect that things would turn around. The old man definitely didn't want to die, otherwise he wouldn't have lived in the ring for endless years. Now that there is a glimmer of hope, he naturally doesn't want to let it go, and hurriedly asked, Sir, please speak. Li Guanhai smiled lightly and said, Serve me as your master. Chapter 94, Picking Out the Best Stuff. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old man seemed to have expected it and was not surprised. He glanced at Xiahou Jie's body not far away, sighed, and nodded, I am willing. However, Li Guanhai shook his head, the old man's heart skipped a beat. Did he regret it? Just when he was worried, he heard Li Guanhai said lightly, Senior, you must let me plant the soul of life. The old man's pupils shrank and his face became a little ugly. Once the soul of life is planted, it is equivalent to handing your life to someone else. The other party only needs a thought, and he will be annihilated and die without a complete body. The old man hesitated. He was a powerful and famous figure in the past. How high-spirited and arrogant he was, now he is asked to hand his life to someone else. From now on, he can only bow his head and obey orders. Of course, he can't accept it. Li Guanhai didn't rush to urge him, just smiled at him. However, behind this harmless smile, there is a hidden murderous intent. If the old man nodded, everything would be over, but if he shook his head, Li Guanhai would have no patience to persuade him anymore and had to send him on his way. Feng Yusheng and Li Ningxuang were guarding outside the black hole. Neither of them spoke, and the atmosphere seemed a little awkward. At this moment, they opened their eyes at the same time. The sea of clouds above their heads broke open, and a divine rainbow rushed out, flying over. The divine rainbow dissipated, revealing a handsome and feminine young man, who was Zhou Jishu from Lingxiao City. His eyes passed over the two women and fell on the black hole behind. He only took a glance and felt palpitations. This black hole is very dangerous. It seems that Li Guanhai has already entered. What treasures are there in it? Thinking of this, Zhou Jishu was about to rush into the black hole. Li Ningxuang said coldly, You can't go in. Zhou Jishu looked at her, his voice was equally cold, Why? My master is inside, and can't be disturbed by outsiders. Li Ningxuang's voice was flat, without a trace of warmth. The opportunities in the Xuantian treasure cave are ownerless, and anyone can take them. The young master Guanhai is so overbearing, isn't it a bit too much? Zhou Jishu frowned, and his magic power surged around him, and his breath rose steadily. Li Ningxuang was not moved at all, and there was indifference in her charming and slender blue eyes, and she said lightly, So what? You. Zhou Jishu was furious, but he had to suppress his anger when he felt the terrifying aura on Li Ningxuang. He couldn't see through the cultivation of this charming woman, and could only feel that it was extremely terrifying. Facing her, it was like facing a mountain, pressing him so hard that he couldn't breathe. Zhou Jishu was very unwilling in his heart. If he had known that the Xuantian treasure cave would be opened, he would have brought more strong men with him. He looked deeply at the black hole behind the two women, turned around and left without saying a word. Li Ningxuang snorted coldly, thinking that when the master came out later, he must take credit for it. Not long after Zhou Jishu left, another uninvited guest rushed out of the sea of clouds, and it was young Chana. At this moment, her face was full of innocent smiles, revealing two shallow dimples, which was very cute. In these few hours, she can be said to have reaped a lot of rewards. She got so many natural treasures that she could even build a sect. In addition to being greedy for money, young Chana also has a skill. which is that she has excellent eyesight and can distinguish the high and low treasures, so when she was looting treasures, she didn't stuff them all at once, but specifically picked the good things. After collecting almost all the treasures, she took out the blue jade, followed the instructions and passed through the sea of clouds and came here. She saw a black hole in the center of the world from a distance, and 2 women were guarding the black hole, all of whom were beautiful and charming. Yang Chana recognized Li Ningxuang at a glance, and hurried over, asking, "Li Guanhai is here too." "Where is he?" Li Ningxuang didn't expect that this girl who had an inexplicable relationship with her master would appear here. She tilted her head and said, "The master is inside." Yang Chana looked in the direction, wondering what Li Guanhai was doing in this dark cave. Suddenly she thought of something, and her heart skipped a beat. "It's over, Li Guanhai must be looking for a treasure." "Asshole, that's my treasure." Yang Chana was angry and anxious, and rolled up her sleeves to rush into the black hole. Li Ningxuang stretched out her hand to stop her and said, "You can't go in." "Oh, don't stop me, why can't I go in?" Yang Chana was so anxious that she had to go in quickly to stop Li Guanhai. The treasure inside was obviously hers, and it belonged to her alone. Li Ningxuang said calmly, "The master has ordered that no one is allowed to go in and disturb us." "I don't care, I want to go in, don't stop me." After that, Yang Chana turned into a divine rainbow and rushed towards the black hole. Li Ningxuang sighed, and clenched his hands in the air. A giant palm with golden runes flashing on it stretched out and grabbed Yang Chana. Yang Chana was furious and kept struggling, shouting, "Let me go. Let me in, Li Guanhai, you bastard." Li Ningxuang turned a deaf ear to her noise and trapped her like this. No matter how she made noise, a piece of news spread in the world above the sea of clouds. There is another world below the sea of clouds, hiding a peerless opportunity. As soon as this news came out, it immediately caused a sensation in the entire Xuantian treasure cave. All the cultivators looked at the sea of clouds below, but they didn't expect that the real peerless opportunity was hidden below. For a while, the geniuses of the 4 ancient clans of the upper world and the world of no return rushed into the sea of clouds to grab the rare opportunity. Although those casual cultivators with low cultivation were extremely jealous, not many people chose to join in the fun. With their strength and background, let alone whether they could grab the rare opportunity, they might not be able to survive the extremely dangerous sea of clouds, let alone grab the opportunity. Even if they were lucky enough to grab the rare opportunity, would they have the life to enjoy it? Will the major sects let them go? The most important thing for a person is to have self-knowledge and to know how to be content. This time the harvest is already great. It is the wisest choice to stop when you are ahead. On an ancient continent, Xiahou Aoshua listened to the female official's report, and her already cold and beautiful face became a little colder. "If you want to grab his opportunity, you have to ask me." Without saying a word, she led a group of Xiahou Xianchao warriors who had joined her and rushed into the sea of clouds, thousands of miles away. Lu Xianjing also heard the news and thought that Yang Chana had probably gone down. If the opportunity was in her hands, she would be in danger. Thinking of this, Lu Xianjing turned into a divine rainbow and resolutely rushed into the sea of clouds. In the void at an endless distance from here, Zhou Jishu stood in the air, looking at the warriors and geniuses who rushed into the sea of clouds, and couldn't help but sneered. "Hee, Yunwei Division, Li Guanhai, let's see if you can stop them." Yes, the news that there was a peerless opportunity under the sea of clouds was spread by Zhou Jishu. It was to ruin Li Guanhai's good deeds and muddy the water. Although the major sects did not dare to grab it due to the power of Yunwei Division, who could say for sure about these things in front of the real peerless opportunity. Even though the opportunity was taken away by Li Guanhai in the end, it was enough to make him extremely anxious. Chapter 95, Hongmeng Mongolian Jade. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the chaotic space, Li Guanhai looked at the old man's shadow and asked calmly, "Have you considered it?" That he had no patience to wait any longer. The old man seemed to hear his impatience and sighed, "It is better to live a miserable life than to die a good death. I am willing to surrender." The old man lowered his head and opened his soul. "Very good." Li Guanhai smiled, flicked his finger, and a black light swept into the old man's eyebrows, deeply rooted. "Deng Gui greets the master." The old man bowed down, extremely respectful. "No need to be polite, you can cultivate in this soul-nourishing jade for the time being, and I will rebuild your body as soon as possible. Li Guanhai took out a green jade pendant emitting a bright light and said so. Thank you, Master. Deng Gui's eyes radiated divine light, his face showed great joy, and he thanked him repeatedly, turning into a wisp of green smoke and drilling into the soul-nourishing jade. He survived in the ring for countless years. Although he could barely keep his soul from dispersing, the days inside were dark and he lived like a year. He was tortured every moment, and this soul-nourishing jade has its own world, with green mountains and clear waters, which is beautiful. More importantly, this soul-nourishing jade has the miraculous effect of warming the soul, so there is no need to worry like before, and he has to rely on himself to warm the soul all the time. Now he finally doesn't have to worry about those things anymore. Deng Gui felt more relaxed than ever before. He wanted to have a good sleep. He had never slept a peaceful sleep in the endless years. Li Guanhai put the soul-nourishing jade into the Qiankun bag. He actually had another purpose for keeping Deng Gui alive. After all, Deng Gui was a person who had lived for countless years. He was well versed in ancient and modern times and knew all the secrets from ancient times to the present. Next, Li Guanhai had to collect a lot of rare treasures to complete the plan of the Yunwei Division. With the assistance of Deng Gui, a know-it-all, it would be smoother. Besides, although Deng Gui is only a weak soul now, his own cultivation must not be underestimated. After recasting his body, Li Guanhai can have another powerful assistant, which can be said to kill two birds with one stone. Li Guanhai has always put interests first when doing things. As long as it is good for him, he doesn't mind spending some time to plan. Now that the small things are solved, it's time to do the real things. Li Guanhai looked back at the ordinary ancient tree and walked slowly over. The closer you get to the ancient tree, the more you can feel a majestic chaotic force rushing towards you, and the vitality is endless, as if the entire universe exists because of it. This god of creation tree is a bit extraordinary. It can be called a perfect creation. What would happen if this god of creation tree could be transplanted into the inner universe? Thinking of this, Li Guanhai couldn't help but smile, and he was about to use his magical powers to move the god of creation tree and the chaotic energy that took root into the inner universe. At this moment, the man who was sleeping under the tree suddenly spoke. You can't do this. Li Guanhai restrained the surging mana in his palm, looked at him quietly, and asked with a smile, why? This is the tree of origin. The entire Xuantian treasure cave can only exist because of it. Once you leave this place, this world will be destroyed, and you can't escape. The man's voice was flat, his behavior was lazy, and he looked like he hadn't woken up yet. Li Guanhai stared at him with red eyes, and suddenly smiled. Whether I can escape or not, don't bother with it. Hongmeng Mongolian Jade. Hearing this, the man's lazy expression finally changed. He raised his eyebrows slightly and stood up. How did you recognize me? The man in front of him was transformed by Hongmeng Mongolian Jade. Li Guanhai said coldly, how I recognized you, don't worry about it. Do you want to submit to me obediently, or do you want me to erase your consciousness? Hongmeng Mongolian Jade stared at him for a long time, and suddenly laughed, and the terrifying momentum broke out like a tsunami, sweeping across the entire chaotic space. What a big tone, asking me to surrender. Today I want to see who surrenders. As he said that, he attacked brazenly, and his spiritual power condensed into dozens of golden chains, which were drawn to Li Guanhai from all directions. Li Guanhai narrowed his eyes slightly. This Hongmeng Mongolian Jade's mastery of magical powers was far beyond his expectations. It had almost reached the level of a grandmaster, close to perfection, and impeccable, and his aura was also extremely terrifying, almost touching the level of a quasi-emperor. What a piece of Hongmeng Mongolian Jade! Not only did it give birth to spiritual wisdom, but it also comprehended the way of heaven on its own and cultivated to the peak of Xuanhuan. It is worthy of being a treasure that seizes the fortune of heaven and earth. Li Guanhai thought so in his heart. His pupils flashed red. And he flicked his fingers. Dozens of finger rays shot out like falling meteors, instantly shattering more than a dozen mana chains, turning into countless golden runes and dissipating. Hongmeng Mongolian Jade was awe-inspiring, and a look of shock flashed in his eyes. His comprehension of magical powers has almost reached perfection, and his cultivation level is much stronger than the other party. This young genius in front of him, with a cultivation level not as good as his, easily broke his magical powers, which is simply unbelievable. Try my move. Hongmeng Mongolian Jade's expression became cautious, and he shouted and punched out. Suddenly, a strong wind blew up, and a 1,000-foot tiger formed by the condensation of magic power roared to the sky, with great momentum. The open blood basin mouth stood up to the sky, as if it could swallow the sun and the moon, and bite off the way of heaven. Li Guanhai's black clothes fluttered in a strong wind, and his cold and arrogant eyes were indifferent, not moved at all by the terrifying power of this move. His sleeves fluttered, his hands were surrounded by black and white energy, the power of the 5 elements gathered, and many strange phenomena emerged. He put his index and middle fingers together and pointed at the air. A straight blue divine light pierced the sky, like a mad dragon. From a distance, it looked like a silk thread hanging from the sky. The blue light slashed down vertically, splitting the void, and the tiger roaring to the sky was immediately cut in half and turned into nothingness. You can see through the flaws of my magical power. This is impossible. Hongmeng Yu was shocked and angry, roaring loudly, and his vast mana poured out. All kinds of terrifying killing magical powers emerged one after another, bombarding Li Guanhai. However, he became more and more frightened and horrified as he fought. No matter what kind of magical power he used, Li Guanhai could always see through the flaws at a glance and resolve them in a snap of his fingers. Even from beginning to end, he had been standing in the same place without moving a step. The calm and indifferent look seemed to be looking at a jumping clown, which made Hongmeng Mongolian Jade extremely humiliated and desperate. No matter how many means and magical powers one has, there will be a time when they are exhausted. Hongmeng Mongolian Jade has used all the magical powers that can be used. At this moment, he has reached the end of his rope and has no other choice. If you have no other skills, then you can die. Li Guanhai's voice was cold, and he waved his sleeves. The law domain blocked the void and instantly enveloped Hongmeng Mongolian Jade. You have comprehended the law domain? How is it possible? Hongmeng Mongolian Jade was horrified and looked at the handsome young man who was walking step by step. Li Guanhai said indifferently, "You are no longer useful." After that, an ordinary short sword appeared out of thin air, swept out silently, and pierced Hongmeng Mongolian Jade's eyebrows in the heartbreaking cry of begging for mercy. Bang! The man's body exploded into ashes, and a piece of ancient jade emitting black light was suspended in the air. Upon closer inspection, mountains, rivers, stars in the sky, and everything in the world seemed to be hidden in it. Li Guanhai stretched out his hand to hold the ancient jade. The moment he held it, a strange force of Hongmeng rushed into his body like a torrent, drilling into the 8 extraordinary meridians and penetrating into his internal organs. Chapter 96. What will happen to Julu Academy after taking the Tree of Fortune? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Li Guanhai felt that the spiritual power in his body had changed qualitatively again, becoming extremely pure. If his spiritual power was like a strand of hair before, now it is like a golden cudgel, which is completely different. Li Guanhai took a deep breath and showed a sincere smile on his face. The reason why he just wasted so much time with the Hongmeng Jade avatar was actually because he wanted to see him finish using his magical power and gain insights from it. The final result did not disappoint him. Hongmeng transformed into hundreds of moves, and each move was flawless and perfect to the extreme. Li Guanhai benefited a lot and had a different understanding of the use of supernatural powers. This trip was truly worthwhile. After he put the Hongmeng Jade into the Xuanhuan bag, he looked at the ancient tree, the divine tree of creation. There are only 5 words describing it in classical books: a perfect creation. Although these 5 words are simple, their meaning is unimaginable. What kind of divine object can deserve such an evaluation? He no longer wasted time, waved his sleeves, and surged with magic power to uproot the divine tree of creation. However, the next moment, the divine tree of creation exhaled a circle of clear air, which actually dissolved his magic power. Li Guanhai raised his eyebrows, surprised. As expected of a so-called perfect creation, it really cannot be dealt with by ordinary means. He thought for a moment, then threw a small green cauldron. The mouth of the cauldron opened with a bang, and it aimed at the divine tree of creation, erupting with a terrifying suction force. The immortal cauldron of creation can collect and refine all things, so it should be able to deal with this divine tree of creation. Sure enough, as Li Guanhai expected, under the terrifying suction force of the immortal cauldron, the divine tree of creation shook violently, and was finally uprooted, along with a piece of rooted chaotic energy, which was sucked into the cauldron. Let's transplant the divine tree of creation into the inner universe after we get out. Li Guanhai murmured to himself, turned into a divine rainbow, and flew towards the black hole at the top of the sky. Other side, countless monks came to the world under the sea of clouds in Xuantian treasure cave. Everyone was staring intently at the black hole suspended in the center of the world, their eyes burning and wanting to penetrate. The incredible opportunity must be inside. The monks and the creatures really wanted to rush in, but when they saw the group of people guarding the black hole, they couldn't help but retreat and felt fear. That battle was really too big. In addition to dozens of Yunwei Division guards, there were also powerful men from Bingchan Palace and Xiahou Immortal Dynasty, and there were a total of 50 or 60 Xian kings, especially the two women at the front who are of peerless elegance. Their auras are extremely terrifying and their knowledge is as profound as the sea. They stood there quietly, as if they were integrated with the way of heaven, naturally giving people an invisible pressure, stern and cold, elusive, and unapproachable. There were many discerning people among the monks, and they could tell at a glance that these two women were highly cultivated and had probably reached the level of the emperor. When they thought of this, they couldn't help but feel a little depressed. There are two emperor-level experts standing guard. Even if they risk their lives, it will not help. As long as people snap their fingers, even if they have 10 lives, they won't die. Not to mention that behind the two emperor realm experts, there are 50 or 60 Xuanhuan realm masters. All the casual cultivators gave up. Although the unique opportunity was good, it had to be lived to enjoy it. However, the powerful leaders of the major avenues and the 5 ancient tribes were not willing to give up this unique opportunity to others. They formed a temporary alliance and stood on the same front, forcing the people of Yunwei Division to get out of the way. Although the various sects in the upper world were aggressive, they left some room and did not accomplish anything. After all, Yunwei is the top strength in the upper world, and all sects are very afraid of him. If he offends him today, there is no guarantee that he will not be in trouble when he returns to the upper world. Being targeted by Yunwei is undoubtedly a very scary thing. The 5 ancient clans of the no-return realm do not have this concern. Their clan territory is not in the upper realm. After the no-return realm is closed, they will be separated from each other and no one can control anyone else. Therefore, their performance was relatively strong, and there were even many impatient experts who were already gathering their magic power. They would attack with all their strength as soon as their young master gave the order. Except for Yan Lai, the geniuses of the 5 ancient tribes were all confronting the strong men of Yunwei Division, asking them to give way. As for the genius of the Yu clan named Xuan, his temperament was a little colder. He only said a few words from beginning to end, and then he didn't speak, and he didn't intend to force himself, because she was aware of the terrifying power of Li Ningshuang and Feng Yusheng, and knew that if they took action, she and her tribe would suffer heavy losses, or even suffer heavy casualties. She still understands the principle of shooting the first bird. The strong men of the other 4 ancient tribes also understood this. They looked strong on the surface, but never took action. They just wanted to wait for others to take action first and attract firepower, so that they could take advantage of the opportunity and reap the benefits. The atmosphere was tense, and suddenly someone roared, and a magical bird formed by condensing mana soared over the heads of the monks and rushed towards the powerful men of the Yunwei Division. A cold light flashed in Li Ningshuang's eyes, and she raised her jade hand lightly, bursting out with powerful power, instantly tearing the magic bird into pieces and exploding it into countless light spots. She raised her cold eyes and scanned the crowd. Everyone she glanced at felt trembling in their hearts and their scalps were numb. The crowd suddenly became silent, and the person who took advantage of the chaos made no move. No one knew who had done it just now. Get out! Li Ningshuang gave a cold scolding, stretched out her jade hand from the air, and the surging mana separated the crowd, leaving only a rather delicate-looking young man wearing a square scarf, dressed as a scholar, standing in the middle. Not good. He turned pale with horror and was about to flee. However, as soon as he had this thought in his mind, he was imprisoned and could not move at all. He screamed in fear, "I am Feng Guanyu, a disciple of Julu Academy. You can't kill me." Julu Academy. Hearing this name, the faces of the cultivators in the upper realm changed slightly. They didn't expect that this young man was actually a disciple of Julu Academy. It is said that scholars have the most integrity and integrity. Isn't this guy too cowardly? It really disgraces Julu Academy. Thinking of this, the faces of the cultivators couldn't help showing contempt. And those casual cultivators were a little bit reluctant and even wanted to beg for mercy, because for casual cultivators, Julu Academy is sacred and inviolable, and they have done a favor to them. Now that the disciples of Julu Academy are in trouble, they naturally don't want him to get into trouble, but even so, the casual cultivators felt that Feng Guanyu's behavior was very inappropriate. Just now, he actually wanted to fish in troubled waters and stir up conflicts between the various sects and the Yunwei Division. Such ill-intentioned behavior is really not what a gentleman would do. As expected, good people grow up reading sage books, but those who read sage books are not necessarily good people. Feng Guanyu's behavior can be light or heavy. If he provoked other sects, it would be fine. For the sake of Julu Academy, they might not treat him as he is, but the Yunwei Division is different. This force standing at the top of the upper world has always been known for its cold-blooded cruelty and unscrupulous means. Will they let Feng Guanyu go easily? The casual cultivators wanted to speak up for mercy, but the words were stuck in their throats. They opened their mouths several times, but couldn't say a word. There was no way. The oppressive feeling of the Yunwei Division was too strong. What about Julu Academy? Dare to provoke my Yunwei Division, there is only one end. Li Ningxuang's tone was indifferent and cruel, and her jade hand gently clenched. The void vibrated, and Feng Guanyu exploded, turning into ashes. Chapter 97, Why Don't You Run Away? You are listening at novelfull.audio. The cultivators took a deep breath. I didn't expect this unbelievably beautiful woman to be so ruthless. After all, Feng Guanyu is a direct disciple of Julu Academy, and Julu Academy is also a well-known existence in the upper realm. This woman didn't leave any room for her, really didn't leave any face. As expected of the Yunwei Division, she is extremely powerful in the face of any Taoist power. And today's incident was indeed provoked by Feng Guanyu first. Even if Julu Academy knew about it, it could only swallow its anger, let alone the fact that Julu Academy was not right in this matter. Even if it was right, what could he do? What could he dare to do? The reason why Li Ningxuang was so ruthless was, first, because Feng Guanyu deserved to die. The second reason was that he wanted to use Feng Guanyu to kill the chicken to scare the monkey, to deter the major Taoists and ancient clans, and let them retreat, and Li Ningxuang's goal was obviously achieved. After this incident, the crowd that was still restless just now suddenly became silent. Those who had ulterior motives also became honest and did not dare to make any more evil plans, fearing that they would follow in Feng Guanyu's footsteps. At the front of the cultivators, Yang Channer's cheeks were puffed with anger. Not only was she not frightened, but her little face showed an indignant look. If it weren't for Lu Xianjing who was standing by to stop her, I'm afraid this silly girl would have rushed up long ago. Xia Tianjun of Beiwu Sword Domain glanced at the black hole, and turned away with a group of strong men and followers. He knew in his heart that the opportunity here no longer belonged to him. With the departure of Xia Tianjun, many cultivators also rushed out of the sea of clouds one after another, not wading through this muddy water. Since there is no peerless opportunity, why waste time here? There are still many treasures on the Xuantian treasure cave continent, so why not seize the opportunity to plunder them now? More and more cultivators chose to leave, and although the major sects were unwilling, they no longer stayed. The forces such as the Inverted Palace, Ganyong City, Beiwu Sword Domain, and Suyan Palace have all left. Even Yen Lai also retreated with a group of Yen clan strongmen. Zhou Zhishu's face darkened when he saw this scene. He thought that even Yunwei would not be able to appease the public anger if the news was revealed to everyone, but what he never expected was that Yunwei had no intention of appeasing the public anger at all, but chose to take action directly, and was extremely strong and domineering. Each sect had its own ulterior motives, and wanted the other party to attract the anger of Yunwei so that they could take the opportunity to profit from it. How could such intrigue and hesitation succeed? In addition, Yunwei's thundering means directly caused the loose interest alliances of the major sects to fall apart. If everyone could work together, the situation would definitely not be like this now. Although almost all the cultivators in the upper realm had left, the strong men in the unreturning realm did not leave. Unlike the cultivators in the upper realm, they did not have much scruples about Yunwei, so they chose to stay. Zhou Jishu pondered for a while and also chose to stay. On the other side, Yuan Guannan and a group of strong men from Liuguang's sect did not leave. The girl's pretty face was full of worry. According to Xiahou, there is a peerless opportunity for him in the Xuantian treasure cave, and the peerless opportunity he is looking for should be in that black hole. But now the people from Yunwei have guarded the black hole, and they keep saying that their young master is inside and no one is allowed to enter. This means that Xiahou Jia and the young master Guanhai are both in the black hole, and they may be fighting for the opportunity at this moment. After all, Yuan Guannan and Xiahou Jia have known each other for a while, so she is naturally worried about his safety. In fact, she is still very confident in Xiahou Jia's strength. If his opponent is someone else, Yuan Guannan will not worry at all, but his opponent is Li Guanhai, the son of Qilin, who is said to have the qualifications to be deified, a true pride standing at the top of the upper realm, and famous all over the world. Facing such an opponent, what chances does Xiahou Jia have of winning? Although Yuan Guannan was very confident in Xiahou Jia, she still shook her head at this moment. Chance of winning? Don't be ridiculous. She was smart and actually had the answer in her heart, but as a friend, she still wanted to wait until the last moment to put an end to their friendship. At this moment, a young man in black clothes, handsome as a god, walked out of the black hole. It was Li Guanhai. His black clothes were fluttering, his eyes were cold and lonely, and a layer of faint silver light was shrouded around him, making him look like an immortal. Li Ningshuang and a group of Qingqi guards and followers saw him come out, and they all showed joy on their faces and said respectfully, "Master." "Yes." Li Guanhai nodded slightly, with a smile as warm as the spring breeze on his face, which made many female spirits in the world of no return beat. Lu Xianjing bit her lower lip with her teeth, her cold eyes flickered, full of complexity. Yang Chana on the side was angry, gnashing her teeth and whispering, "Damn it, this guy must have found a good treasure, that is expected of a money grubber, he only has treasures in his eyes." Done. Xiahou Aoshue walked to Li Guanhai, her voice was still as indifferent and majestic as always, but also soft, beautiful, and breathtaking. Done. Li Guanhai looked at her softly, stretched out his hand to tuck her black hair behind her ears. With a gentle and intimate action, Xiahou Aoshue glared at him in anger, but her phoenix eyes were full of smiles. Lu Xianjing, who was far away, saw this scene, and for some reason, her mood suddenly became a little irritable and uncomfortable. She silently recited the meditation mantra to calm her mind. "What happened to me?" At this time, Zhou Jishu suddenly came out and bowed to Li Guanhai, saying, "It seems that Master Guanhai has a great opportunity this time. Why don't we take this opportunity to learn from each other?" Zhou Jishu thought, "Since I am destined not to get the peerless opportunity today, let's achieve another goal. The marriage between Yunwei Division and Xiahou Xianchao is the last thing that the major sects in the upper world want to see. If Li Guanhai can be defeated here and his reputation destroyed, even if the marriage cannot be stopped, it should be able to slow down the situation. Although Li Guanhai has obtained the peerless opportunity, he must not have had time to refine it in such a short time, and his strength is still about the same as before, and he was invaded by Yin Qi and injured his origin foundation, which is known to everyone. In addition, he must have consumed a lot in order to obtain the opportunity. With this increase and decrease, Zhou Jishu is confident that he can defeat Li Guanhai. After all, he is also a top genius in the upper world." Li Guanhai raised his eyebrows and looked at Zhou Jishu with an interested smile on his face. He thought that the people of the four ancient clans would attack first, but he didn't expect that this Master Zhou from Lingshao City would jump out first. "Well, it doesn't matter who comes first." Li Guanhai smiled and said, "Master Zhou is so elegant. In this case, Guanhai will accompany you." After saying that, he turned his head and looked at Li Ningshuang. Li Ningshuang had a blank expression on her face. She rushed into the sea of clouds with Feng Yusheng, Xiahou Aoshue, and a group of strong men and left here. Yuan Guannan of Liuguang's sect side, looked at Li Guanhai deeply, and left with his men. Sure enough, Xiahou Jia was defeated. Seeing the retreat of the Yunwei Division strong men, everyone was confused and didn't understand what Li Guanhai was up to. Wasn't he afraid that everyone would attack him? Or was he too confident? Li Guanhai looked at Yang Chana, who was staring at him angrily, and said softly, "You guys go too." Lu Xuanjing's heart trembled. Although Li Guanhai didn't even look at her, he said "you guys." He noticed her, Yang Chaner frowned and asked, Li Guanhai, what are you doing? Li Guanhai said unhappily, isn't it obvious enough? These Taoist friends have something to discuss with me. Yang Chaner glanced at Zhou Jishu and hundreds of powerful people from the Bugue realm, and said seriously, why don't you run away? If I run away, how can you leave? Li Guanhai. Yang Chaner felt warm in her heart, and her hatred for Li Guanhai faded a little. Chapter 98, Clone. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It turns out that he has been thinking about her. Thinking of this, Yang Chaner couldn't help but feel ashamed, thinking that she shouldn't have hated him so much before. Li Guanhai looked at her softly, stretched out his hand to rub her head, and whispered, let's go. The softness of his tone made Yang Chaner's heart beat wildly, and her head was dizzy, as if she was drunk. She quickly calmed herself down, snorted, and said in a nonchalant tone, we are leaving, what will you do? Li Guanhai smiled lightly, leaned forward, leaned close to her ear, and whispered, don't worry, I have my own way. Who is worried about you, Li Guanhai? Don't be so self-indulgent. Yang Chaner was like a cat whose tail was stepped on, and her hair suddenly exploded. Anxious and embarrassed, she glared at Li Guanhai fiercely and said to Lu Xianjing beside her, Sister Xianjing, let's go, don't worry about this bad guy. Lu Xianjing bit her lower lip and looked up at Li Guanhai, but found that he didn't even look at her. She was inexplicably annoyed and turned around and left with Yang Chaner. Master Guanhai, please teach me. The two women had just rushed into the sea of clouds when Zhou Jishu took action. He turned into a divine rainbow, shot out like a gust of wind and lightning, and crashed into Li Guanhai with a whistling sound. The speed was so fast that it almost broke the void. Li Guanhai stood with his hands behind his back, his eyes were calm and distant, his breath was cold and lonely, and his domineering aura that looked down on the world was natural and intimidating. The magic power flowed around him, like wind and clouds, and there was a faint thunder sound that shook the heaven and earth. Dang! The sound of a bell resounded throughout the universe, shaking the earth and mountains, and even the stars outside the domain were shaking, as if they were about to fall. Zhou Jishu was shocked back thousands of miles before he stopped, his face full of shock. Just now, he used the unique skill of Lingxiao City, Yincheng Wanli, which is famous for its speed and strong explosive power, but Li Guanhai just stood there, and his magic power surged, and he easily cracked this magical power. Zhou Jishu's expression became more and more solemn. This Qilin son of the Yunwei Division is indeed worthy of his reputation. Even if his origin foundation was injured by the Yin Qi and he could not exert his full strength, he was still ridiculously strong. Next, we must treat it with caution. If we lose, it will be like a boat capsized in a gutter and shooting ourselves in the foot. Thinking of this, Zhou Jishu no longer held back, his aura rose steadily, and in an instant he was several times stronger than before. Clang! A cold and shining Bingpa sword appeared in his hand, and he slashed it with one sword. The blue light was strong, and the sword energy was like a rainbow. The icy sword energy that stretched for thousands of miles penetrated the sky. Wherever the sword energy passed, even the air seemed to be frozen and condensed into countless white frost. It snowed in this world, and it was moving with the wind. The power of a sword was unrivaled in the world. Li Guanhai's calm eyes flashed with sharpness, looking at the sharp sword energy that was coming, and raised his right hand lightly. In the sea of clouds, Yang Chaner and Lu Xianjing, two girls, rushed upwards one after the other, passing through the clouds and mist, and traveled thousands of miles in an instant. Lu Xianjing looked back from time to time, and was quite worried. She couldn't help asking, Chaner, is it really okay to leave him alone down there? Yang Chaner rolled her eyes and said helplessly, Sister Xianjing, I have explained to you 3 times that Guy has his own plans and doesn't need us at all. If we don't leave, we will become a burden to him. Lu Xianjing was silent, but she still couldn't let go of her heart. Sister Xianjing, you don't have to hide it from me. There must be something going on between you and that bad guy. Otherwise, why do you get distracted every time you mention him? To tell you the truth, that guy is my cousin. Although I don't want to admit it, he is indeed my cousin. If there is anything between you and him, you can tell me. I can help you. Although Li Guanhai is hateful, always bullying me and stealing my treasures, I think he is not a bad person by nature. Sister Xianjing, what do you think? No one answered her. Yang Chana just thought that Lu Xianjing was cold and thin-skinned, and was embarrassed to speak. She continued to chatter, but she didn't notice that Lu Xianjing behind her had disappeared. On the other side, Li Guanhai was suspended in the void, his left hand stretched out flat, and the majestic sea of magic power surged out, condensing into a golden bowl with a width of 100 feet and a height of 1,000 feet, covering the void and covering Zhou Jishu in it. Zhou Jishu struggled to hold on in the bowl, resisting the unimaginable pressure. At this moment, he was extremely shocked. He couldn't believe that Li Guanhai, whose origin was injured, was so strong. The two of them exchanged less than 50 moves, and Zhou Jishu was trapped and could only passively defend. In the previous 50 moves, Li Guanhai had the upper hand and suppressed Zhou Jishu, making him retreat step by step, and he was extremely frustrated. He thought that he would become famous in one battle today and shock the upper world. At the same time, it could delay the marriage between Yunwei Division and Xiahou Xianchao, which could be said to kill two birds with one stone. But what he never expected was that Li Guanhai's strength was much stronger than he imagined. To be his enemy, you must always maintain a high level of concentration, and you can't be careless or make mistakes. If you make the slightest mistake, you will be crushed instantly. Zhou Jishu knew this very well, so his spirit was always tense and he didn't dare to relax for a moment, but even so, he was still completely suppressed by the beaten Li Guanhai. It can't be compared to speed, it can't be compared to supernatural powers, it can't be compared to spiritual power, it can't be compared to combat experience. How to fight this? Zhou Jishu was very depressed. If he had known that Li Guanhai was so strong, he would not have been the one to stand out. He could have let the talented people who have not returned to the world be used as cannon fodder to estimate how strong Li Guanhai was. Now, he has become the first bird and the whetstone. This is easy to say. If he really loses to Li Guanhai today, then he is really trapping himself and asking for trouble. Damn it, I can't lose. All the followers and the powerful men in Lingxiao City are looking at him. If he loses, where will he put his face? There are many people in the clan who have criticized him for assuming the position of young master. If the news of his defeat spreads back, then his position as young master will not be stable in the future. Thinking of this, a divine light surged between Zhou Jishu's brows, and the magic power in his body became extremely violent, as if it was about to boil. The sky and the earth changed color, and even the sea of clouds rotated, forming a whirlpool. Zhou Jishu is preparing a powerful attack to break through the shackles. However, at this moment, a sudden change occurred. The black hole in the center of the world suddenly collapsed and spread rapidly. The space shattered, and pieces of debris were sucked into the black hole, instantly decomposing and disappearing. Oops, this space is going to be shattered. Run! That I don't know who shouted, and the crowd suddenly became chaotic. Many monks who reacted quickly turned into divine rainbows and rushed into the sea of clouds. Seeing this scene, Zhou Jishu's face also turned ugly, and at the same time, he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Phew, after such a change, I finally no longer have to fight against this monster Li Guanhai. This guy is simply inhuman. However, although I was lucky in my heart, I still had to do enough on the surface. Zhou Jishu calmed down his momentum, and the twinkling light between his brows also subsided. He looked at Li Guanhai not far away and said, "Young Master Guanhai, today's battle was really enjoyable. Now the situation is critical. You and I will." Before he finished speaking, his eyes suddenly widened and he was stunned. I saw Li Guanhai's body slowly dissipating from his head, and finally turned into nothingness, leaving only a drop of blood exuding divine light floating in the air. Zhou Jishu stared blankly at the drop of blood. His whole body felt as if a basin of cold water had been poured over his head. His voice trembled and he murmured, "Clone, clone." Chapter 99, How many times do I have to save you? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zhou Ji knew that Su Ru was hit hard, and his whole body seemed to be separated. He lost all his strength in an instant and almost collapsed to the ground. He had actually been entangled with Li Guanhai's clone for so long, and was suppressed from the beginning to the end, and was even almost defeated. Doppelganger. This is actually just his clone. How is this possible? This is impossible. This must be impossible. Zhou Jishu's face was bloodless and he was dumbfounded. At this moment, his mood was extremely complicated. He was shocked, angry, respectful and fearful. but more importantly, he felt deep shame and frustration. His Taoist mind was unstable, extremely unstable. This incident hit him really hard. Looking at all the great talents in the upper world, which one is not arrogant and firmly believes that he is invincible? If you want to achieve greatness and build an indestructible Taoist heart, you must move forward courageously and look down upon everything. They do not tolerate failure and cannot fail, because once they fail, cracks will appear in their Taoist hearts, and they will lose their invincibility. In some cases, their qualifications will be damaged. In more serious cases, they will develop inner demons, and it will be difficult to achieve anything in this life. As for whether it is light or heavy, it depends on each person's ability to bear it. Zhou Zhishu is the brightest star in Lingxiao City, and he also firmly believes that he is invincible. Now that he has suffered such a big setback, he has not collapsed on the spot, which is considered to be mentally tough. Many people also saw the scene of Li Guanhai disappearing, and they all looked shocked, especially those monks from the upper realm were so shocked that they were speechless. They knew Li Guanhai was strong, but they didn't expect him to be so strong. Today's battle is a battle between two top geniuses in the upper world, and it will definitely be extremely exciting. So these upper realm monks did not leave, choosing to stay and watch the show. As a result, Zhou Zhishu fought hard for a long time, but his opponent was just a clone. The change came so suddenly, which caused a huge impact on everyone, and they were still in a daze for a while. Zhou Zhishu is the top genius in the upper world, the real top genius, but he was suppressed by a clone of Li Guanhai. What does this mean? Thinking of this, the monks couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. They were just casual cultivators, so it was okay to be shocked. But what would the great masters think when they learned about this incident? I'm afraid the entire upper world will be boiling over it, but now they can no longer care so much. The black hole is spreading faster. If they don't leave, they will really die here. Young master, leave quickly. Suddenly, a strong man from Lingxiao City shouted loudly, waking Zhou Zhishu out of his trance. Zhou Zhishu glanced at the monks rushing towards the sea of clouds, and then at the rapidly spreading black hole. He braced himself and led a group of Lingxiao City experts into the sky. Let's go first. The geniuses of the major ancient tribes also led people towards the sea of clouds, and their speed was not slow at all. However, at this moment, the black hole erupted with a powerful suction force, covering the sky. All the monks felt that their bodies were stagnant and it was difficult to move forward. The next moment, countless monks screamed and fell from high altitudes, falling into the black hole that had spread thousands of meters away. They were instantly decomposed into various substances and disappeared into ashes. Only the geniuses of the four ancient tribes, Zhou Zhishu of the upper world, and those with strong cultivation are still struggling to hold on and contend with the suction of the black hole. Their faces were all extremely ugly, and their hearts fell to the bottom, and Zhou Zhishu's face was even more gloomy. He knew that he had been cheated, by Li Guanhai. Not only him, but the four ancient tribes, as well as countless creatures and monks, were all tricked by Li Guanhai. He wanted everyone to die here. Li Guanhai had long known that this space would collapse, so when Zhou Zhishu proposed a duel, he had a plan in mind and left a clone to contain everyone, while his true self had long since left here. No wonder he let the powerful men from Yunwei Division go first. It turned out that he wanted to trap Zhou Zhishu and others. Thinking of this, Zhou Zhishu was angry but also felt frightened. Such a deep city, such cruel methods, and such a cruel heart. Li Guanhai appears to be as gentle as Jade, modest and generous, and seems to be polite to everyone, but underneath this gentleness and humility, he is cold and ruthless, treating human life as nothing. Buddha's mouth is like a snake's heart, and his smile hides a knife. That's who he is talking about. The black hole continued to spread and expand, and its suction force also increased rapidly. More and more powerful people were sucked into the black hole. Even the geniuses and powerful people of the Wu clan and the Dragon clan were not spared, and they all drank in hatred. It's a pity that they don't know who killed them until they die. Zhou Zhishu encouraged and supported him, but he almost couldn't support it anymore. At the critical moment, he gritted his teeth and took out a yellow gourd. The gourd grew in the wind, and directly contained Zhou Zhishu and a group of Lingxiao City experts, turning into divine light and rushing into the sea of clouds. The direction of the Yu clan, wearing a golden feather dress, her breathtakingly beautiful feathers were also trying to resist the suction of the black hole. She glanced at the gourd rushing into the sea of clouds and sighed softly. Still have to use that thing. She took out a 3-inch long talisman sword made of unknown material. There was golden light flowing at the edge of the sword. The talisman sword flew out and opened a space passage from top to bottom. Walk, that Xuan led the powerful men of the Yu clan into the space passage and disappeared, the direction of the Tianping clan. When Kong Zun saw that both Xuan and Zhou Jishu had escaped successfully, he no longer hesitated and took out a 9-story pagoda. This 9-story tower is extremely magical. Each floor seems to be a world, which contains infinite principles and principles. The small tower grew taller in the wind, covering all the Tianping people and taking them to the sea of clouds. The black hole below was still spreading rapidly. In just a short while, it had spread from a radius of 10,000 miles to a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles, and there was no sign of stopping, and it was getting faster and faster. In the sea of clouds, Lu Xianjing swooped down all the way, like a falling meteor. Her heart was extremely complicated. She hated and missed Li Guanhai, and she really didn't know what to do, and now, she was only worried. Li Guanhai faced Zhou Jishu and a group of creatures from the world of no return alone. Would he be in danger? Could he get away safely? Lu Xuanjing's heart could no longer maintain her usual calmness. She became uneasy and couldn't calm down. She couldn't help but start to think wildly in her head. At this moment, a large yellow gourd flew towards her at an unbelievable speed. It passed by her and quickly disappeared. Someone left. What about Li Guanhai? Just as she was thinking this, she saw another thing appear below, a 9-story pagoda, which also passed by her and disappeared. Lu Xianjing suddenly had a bad premonition in her heart, and almost at the same time, the sea of clouds around her suddenly fluctuated violently and began to surge downwards. Then, an extremely strong suction swept over, instantly sucking out all the clouds and mist, firmly pulling Lu Xuanjing's delicate body. Lu Xuanjing's expression suddenly changed, and she looked down, and her heart trembled. At some point, the bottom had turned into an endless black. This black was not pure black, nor was it darkness without light, because even light and darkness would be swallowed up and absorbed if they approached it. Lu Xianjing used all her strength to operate the mysterious skills and urged her magic power to break free from this suction, but she despairingly found that she could not break free at all, but was gradually being sucked down. And the magic power she condensed was swallowed up by the black hole in an instant, and she could not condense at all. Lu Xianjing resisted with all her might, but her resistance was like a small boat in the sea, and seemed extremely powerless. Getting closer and closer to the black hole, she was somewhat desperate. At this moment, she was not terrified or afraid, but thought of a person she hated to the core but could never forget. She could not forget his meanness, his indifference, and even more so his ruthlessness. A miserable smile appeared on her beautiful face, and her fragile fragility made people pity her. Was she going to die here? Oh, that's fine. Just as Lu Xianjing was about to disperse her magic power and calmly go to death, a voice that made her unforgettable rang in her ears. The voice was so gentle and full of helplessness. Alas, how many times do I have to save you? Chapter 100, The Lost Saint Xianjing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lu Xianjing was stunned. When he turned around, he saw the person who haunted him standing behind him. He was dressed in black clothes, handsome as a god, stunningly beautiful. There was a sense of clarity and coldness between his eyebrows. It was perfect and unreal, like a dream bubble that could be broken at any time. Li Guanhai. Lu Xianjing murmured, wondering if she was hallucinating. It is said that when people die, they will see the person they value most in their lives, but why would the person they value most be him? Li Guanhai had a blank expression on his face and directly held her hand. The mysterious power burst out, breaking free from the suction of the black hole and turning into a divine rainbow that soared into the sky. Feeling the temperature on her wrist, Lu Xianjing finally confirmed that the Li Guanhai in front of her was not her hallucination, but real. He came to save her again. He saved herself again. In Lu Xuanjing's eyes, which were not stained with dust, there was no joy of escaping death, but only complexity. The entire world of Xuantian treasure cave is collapsing. Everyone is busy escaping, but he came to save himself regardless of the danger. Why? Thinking of this, Lu Xuanjing's depressed mood for the past few days finally became clear and happy. She didn't know why she had such emotions. Maybe she knew it in her heart, but she had been avoiding it and didn't want to face it. The two of them quickly rushed out of the sea of clouds. Looking up, all the floating continents were collapsing, and countless monks fled to the exit like locusts. Lu Xianjing was about to say something, but Li Guanhai didn't give her the opportunity at all. He shuttled through the void one after another, and the speed was so fast that he rushed into the space portal in almost a few blinks of an eye. With a dizzy turn, the scene suddenly changed. A cold wind blew, and Lu Xianjing opened her eyes and saw that she was in the mountains. There were monks escaping from the huge gate in the void, and their expressions were panicked. The speed reached the peak in history, and one was faster than the other. Sure enough, when people face the power of life and death, they will burst out with infinite potential. Li Guanhai let go of Lu Xuanjing's hand. His eyes were calm and distant, like a pool of stagnant water, without any waves. Lu Xianjing looked at his flawless profile, and her heart, which was not calm, was disturbed again. After hesitating for a while, she opened her red lips and said, "You." Before she finished speaking, Li Guanhai's figure gradually became faint and finally disappeared. Lu Xianjing was stunned, staring blankly at the empty front, at a loss. Her beautiful face showed a little grievance. Her face was pale, her 5 fingers grasped her dress, and she was very sad. Why is he always like this, saving herself and ignoring herself? Sister Xianjing. Just when she was in a trance, a girl in white rushed over. It was Yang Chaner. Yang Chaner flew out of the sea of clouds and found that Lu Xianjing was gone, which made her anxious. She couldn't help but wonder if she was lost in the sea of clouds. Just as she was about to go down to look for him, the entire space began to break and collapse at an extremely fast speed, and all the cultivators were running for their lives. There was no choice but for Yang Chaner to retreat first. She was still very worried about Lu Xuanjing's safety. Although they had only been together for a few days, the relationship between the two was already quite deep. "Sister Xianjing, where have you been? You almost scared me to death." "Hey, what's wrong with you? Why are you unhappy? Who bullied you?" "Sister Xianjing, don't be afraid. Tell me, I'll deal with him. If I can't deal with him, let Li Guanhai deal with him." After that, Yang Chaner rolled up her sleeves, looked around, and kept muttering, "Who dares to bully my sister Xianjing? If you have the ability, stand up and fight me alone." Hearing the 3 words Li Guanhai, Lu Xianjing couldn't help but tremble in her heart. She sighed, forced herself to calm down her complicated emotions, and smiled. "Stop it, Chaner, let's go." "Sister Xianjing, are you okay?" "Huh, that's great. I'm telling you, I found a lot of good treasures this time. The no-return realm will not be closed until 1.5 months later, and there are still many treasures and opportunities. Let's go find them quickly, otherwise they will be robbed." Speaking of this, Yang Chaner suddenly remembered something. Her cheeks bulged, and she said angrily, "Li Guanhai's luck is too good. He has enjoyed the peerless opportunity alone. God is really unfair. Why doesn't he let me get that peerless opportunity?" That she sighed repeatedly, complained about the world, and chattered endlessly. I don't know how Lu Xianjing, who is cold and taciturn, can endure it. On the other side, Zhou Jishu successfully led a group of Lingxiao city strongmen to escape from the Xuantian treasure cave, but his face was extremely gloomy, and there was a faint anger surging. Li Guanhai, that he gritted his teeth and clenched his fists. In addition to the anger after being plotted, he was also humiliated. Li Guanhai used only 1 clone to trick all of them. If he hadn't used the life-saving magic weapon given to him by his ancestors in an emergency, he might have died. Thinking of this, Zhou Jishu was even more furious, and his hair was almost on fire. However, behind the anger and humiliation, there was a deep sense of powerlessness. Li Guanhai used only 1 clone to firmly suppress him, and beat him back step by step, almost losing. How strong is this guy? Isn't it rumored that he was invaded by Yin Qi and his origin foundation was damaged, and he might not even be able to save his life? Is he called injured like that? If so, everyone in the world would be sick. Nothing should be said about this matter, otherwise I would probably become the laughing stock of the entire upper world. and even Lingxiao City would become the object of laughter of all the great masters, let alone whether I could keep my position as young master. Zhou Zhishu, who was arrogant, would never allow such a thing to happen. Fortunately, Li Guanhai's plan killed all the casual cultivators who joined in the fun, leaving only the ancient clan and a group of strong men from Lingxiao City surviving. In this way, things will be easier to handle, at least not as bad as imagined. Thinking of this, Zhou Zhishu looked at the dozen or so powerful men from Lingxiao City who were still frightened without saying a word. Everyone was stunned. Facing the young master's stern and cold eyes, they felt a little numb and shuddered. They are not stupid people. Based on the cause and effect of the incident, they can probably guess what their young master is thinking. One of the middle-aged men in the middle stage of Xuanhuan bowed and saluted. Thank you, young master, for saving your life. Don't worry, young master, I don't remember anything about what just happened, and we will never reveal a word. Seeing that Zhou Zhishu still had a cold gaze, the middle-aged man gritted his teeth and said loudly, we are willing to swear an oath to the Taoist heart. Taking an oath from the heart is the most common and effective way to show loyalty. Once the oath is violated, the Taoist heart will be damaged. In the worst case, the cultivation will stop and gradually dissipate. In the worst case, it will go crazy and burn itself to death. Nowadays, when many big religious families recruit new blood, they will make them swear to the Taoist heart and never betray them to show their loyalty. After all the powerful men swore to Daoxin, Zhou Zhishu's expression softened, and the sharpness in his eyes disappeared. The only people who know these things are the Tianping clan, the Yu clan, and the powerful men in Lingxiao City. Now that the internal worries have been resolved, Zhou Zhishu is not worried about the external ones, nor does he take them to heart. After all, the Tianping and Yu tribes are ancient tribes that have not returned to the upper realm. They know very little about the upper realm and have no idea what this matter means to Zhou Zhishu. In addition, such a big change happened in Xuantian treasure cave, and most of them have forgotten about this matter and will not remember it at all. Thinking of this, Zhou Zhishu felt much lighter and breathed a sigh of relief. At this moment, there was a rumble in the sky, and a huge shadow was cast on the earth. Zhou Zhishu looked up subconsciously, his face suddenly becoming gloomy again. On the extremely majestic flying Shenzhou, a young man wearing mysterious clothes, cold and arrogant, stood on the bow of the ship. He was lonely and cold, with long hair like a waterfall, and a peerless grace. Zhou Zhishu's eyes were wide open, his fists were clenched, and he gritted his teeth and said the name that made him suffer so much humiliation. Li Guanhai.